Well, hello my friends. Welcome back to my shed. Today's subject is going to be turning pepper tree. Now, I did a little research on it and I found some articles. I didn't find per se any samples of what's been done with it, but the articles I've read were that it's a fascinating wood if you can maintain its shape after it's turned, because the wood itself has a lot of twists on it and it will shrink and warp on you, but the wood color and the patterns that are in it are supposed to be amazing. And surprisingly, the log that I have on here, it was a root base, because I've cut down so many trees and they sprout right back up again. If you don't kill the root, in a year you got these huge trees. I shouldn't say trees, they're more like oversized bushes, because they can get pretty thick, but they grow very winey and twisted and all over the place, unlike a tree that grows a big stump even if it has multiple branches off it. This is nothing like it. It will grow up against the ground, and a branch will touch ground, they will root itself and sprout up another tree. So it's one of those type of real nuisance shrubs. And about 2 years ago, while I was clearing some of the yard behind me, I chopped down a lot of these nuisance trees, a lot. And when I did it, I chopped them up and I basically just threw all the stumps further back, because I was not a wood turner. Had I been a wood turner at the time, I would have been cutting a lot of blanks. But anyway, at that time I had no knowledge or no interest per se, because I had never been exposed to a lathe. So I just left all the branches back there. I went back there and there was this root with multiple stumps coming out of it, embedded into each other. And it had formed its shape around each one of the barks, so it's very oddball. And I took the chainsaw to it and I cut part of it a little further down, so I can use in today's video. So I did a little platter, and what I got right now on the lathe is a slightly bigger size, but very, very odd shaped piece, very odd shaped. And my idea with this one is to make a natural winged bowl. Yes, bowl, not a vase. So I got it mounted on the lathe and going to turn it and see what comes up out of it. I'm hoping that I get something that's interesting, and I'm dying to see what are the characteristics of this piece. You know, it has a couple of branches coming out of it, so it will show some interest, and you know, want to see what kind of color. Now I know it has spalting because it's the top of the trunk where it was cut, so a lot of moisture and mildew went in there and started working their way, but it didn't stop it from growing, of course. But anyway, let me bring you to the lathe and get this started. Now, I will try to inform you on the things that I'm doing with it. Right now, I got it installed on a worm screw. And I actually drilled a couple of holes because I put it up where I thought was center, and I put it up and it's like, okay, that doesn't want to be the center, even if it was the center of the majority of this area. But I'm looking at this side as being the outside shape that's going to come up. And trust me, this is one of those that I might be off the wall with, because I'm so low here. Basically, when I start coming up, I know that I'm going to be hitting up this edge, and I'm going to be barely coming up to the top on this piece right here and this one right here. So I got two edges that are going to be very shallow, very deep into the bowl, so I don't know if it will work. And I know some of that can be fixed depending on the shape that I put on the outside. Now, I'm thinking that I want to create something with kind of an OG on it, a slight flare out, but I don't know because of the depthness of this. So it's going to be one of those cases that's going to be a lot of cutting, stopping the lathe, seeing what it's doing, and continue until I get a shape that maybe I can use. Maybe I'll end up and saying, well, okay, it's not too bad, but it really is a different animal. So here we go. I got the lathe set at 310 RPMs or so. Now from experience and turning that platter, I realized that this wood is extremely hard on cutting, and this is all end grain, so this should be fun. I want to bring this edge right up to the top of this cut over here, so I end up with bark all the way around the perimeter of this. At least that's the idea that I'm working with, or what I'm shooting for. Now I want to get past all of this brown stuff and funky stuff that's going on here. I want to, and I'll clear up all of that, but I got to start thinking about already the outside shape before I go too far. This thing is still way off balance, but you know, I'm getting a lot of jumping with the tool. I want to kind of speed this up a little bit, but I'm looking at this edge right here, and this edge is pretty parallel, and this one goes inwards. So it's going to be one of those cases that by the time I get halfway on this, I'll probably be somewhat even. And this means that this is the thickest that I can have my base on this this bowl here, and that really is not going to be a good design. It's going to be way offset. Now if I still turned it around and did it from here, it's way too low here as well. Alright, but I'm going to speed this up to 600 RPMs and see if I can clear this up a little bit quicker. Stand out of the way. That's well mounted in the worm screw, so I'm not in, per se, in any danger, but you know, I always stand out of the way. Now, this wood and the platter that I did proved to be the same problem. It's a very hard wood to cut. I mean, the wood in itself is hard, and I cannot get a good clean cut. I mean, all of this comes out as sawdust and nothing more than sawdust. I very rarely get a little bit of a curl cut. So you can see it's not an easy cutting wood. Now I love the red that's going through here, and this funky stuff that's also giving me a brown, and I kind of like that. I got a little hint of it over here, but I can't end the bowl here. I have to end the bowl on this top lip over here. Let me bring you over the top. But yeah, I love the characteristics that's going through here a lot more than I do here, even though this is really solid wood over here. But again, I get it over here. I'm hoping that I catch it all the way up to the top. I gotta go up to the top of that edge. There's just no way around that. Always work your tool rest as close as you can to your workpiece. When you move your tool rest, also always freehand your piece and make sure that you're clear, and it gives you a visual as to how much space you have when you're putting your tool up here. I'm almost there, and the two areas that I'm going to be working on, basically the two wings, is this one and this one. That's the one that the tool is hitting at this point that I'm turning. I'm really beyond that point over there, so it's going to be just shaping this, but I think I want to go from back here a little bit more. Oh my god, this piece is so low, so low. I'm gonna bring this whole base in some more so the bowl doesn't become so deep either. Yeah, I really want to keep this, and right now I gotta start thinking of bark situation as well. So I don't want to lose the bark, so I'm gonna put a little bit of CA right over the bark area and stiffen up these areas, especially where they flap over. Now, one thing you can do with stubborn bark that you cannot clear up the fibers that are flapping over, and there isn't much you can do as far as your cut. I mean, it will help if I go from outside in a little bit, but you're not going to be able to eliminate these flap overs. So the only thing that I can suggest, and it works pretty well actually, is if you take your sandpaper. Well, first of all, I want it to glue in place a little bit, whatever it is that I'm doing. So now scraping this will not get rid of it. You know, a good gouge, maybe, and it's a very broad maybe. But one thing you can do, and I do this every once in a while, is take your sanding disc and especially power sanding it. But take a sanding disc and go in there and just cut them with it. And you can see that by doing that, you're eliminating all the fibers that are up in the air. This is in the event you're working on a piece that the fibers keep popping up on the bark on you and you want to keep it. Now my sandpaper is pretty worn out. I'm going to change the disc and that will cut much easier. Now while I'm at it, I'm going to sand this edge because I'm not going to be doing much with this top edge at all. So I'm going to already sand this up to kind of a final shape. I can't go any higher up. I'm already in a point that I want it to be at, and I'm right at the edge on this side, so that's pretty much as far as I want to go with cuts. And what I want to do is eliminate those tool marks that I got up there, since I don't want to cut anymore. And no matter what tool I use on there, it's gonna open up my bark again in some areas. So a bit to help me out a little bit because this is all end grain and the wood being so hard, and starting to hollow it out. Now I just sharpened this up and it's still a hard cut. Now, of course, I'm going to end up with the same problem on the outside with the bark. Kind of going crazy on me. I'm almost at the depth I need to be right here. I was trying to see if I could come from outside in to clear up some of this, but that's probably not going to happen. That's why I got that catch and why I lost it, and you can see why I hit. So I'm going to continue doing is shear scrape action over here. I'm pretty thick on the bottom. Okay, my thickness is not too bad. Gotta get rid of these fuzzies and start sanding this. Okay, this is going pretty well, but for today, I've been over here long enough. I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to be back as tomorrow to finish this one up. I'm going to see what happens, how much warpage I get, just it being thin like this. Just applying a little bit of glue, CA, to that little piece of bark that's up in the air. I want the complete bark all the way around this one. And I'll be back tomorrow to sand this up and apply a finish to it. Well, good morning again. I'm back and gonna continue with this piece. It's a little bit on the thick side, but the overall is not bad. The shape, well, definitely not what I was expecting out of this, but it is what it is. I'm gonna sand this down a little bit more. And when I see areas that need a little bit more attention like this, I will sand it while the lathe is stopped. Well, that's about all I'm going to be able to do with this piece. I am actually surprised that it still has somewhat of its shape on what I turned yesterday. It has warped slightly, but not really. Now the markings, the faulting that's going through it is not bad. I like that, but I don't like this part of it right here. I wish I had a little bit more wood going in these two areas right here, but you make it what it allows you to make out of it. Well, here it is. It's been wet sanded with sanding sealer, and I applied a coat of wax. And I really can't buff this very well because it's all air. So I buffed it pretty well in the center area, but when it gets to these wings, I cannot run my hand in there very well. So barely touching the tip of the paper towel, that's all I can get out. It gives me a nice finish. As I start coming out, I go lighter and lighter, not allowing me to get that nice luster. But overall, not bad. Here it is, the biggest nuisance tree in all of Florida, the Brazilian pepper tree. It grows very jagged. I'm pretty sure that this had a branch, that's why it grew around this shape, coming up right up against it, and most likely on this side as well. So it took this type of a shape because the other branch forced it to narrow down like that. But to finish it takes a pretty decent finish, not as good as what I expected it to, but it looks pretty good. Got a little bit of luster going through the center area over here. The outside edge as well, I can't really put enough pressure on these wings speed buffing, and I don't have a buffing wheel, so that's what it is. The bottom, well, again, you know, the spalting that it takes and the markings are not bad, but here it is, the bowl that needed some help right from the beginning. But it will go along with some of my odd pieces. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, and don't forget, leave a comment. Like to hear from you guys, and I try to give you as much information as I can. If you have any questions or concerns or any areas that maybe I'm leaving out, leave it on the comments and I will try to clarify it, or I will try to keep improving on. The only way we can improve our videos is with feedback, and if feedback tells us what we need to focus on, then that's the direction we go. We don't hear from you guys with feedback, we just keep doing what we do, whether if it's right or wrong. Thank you again. We'll see you on the next one very soon.